I screamed and screamed. The sound of dirt got further and further away. Finally, I couldn't hear anything above. I screamed for a long time after that. Hello there, welcome to my channel. I hope you are well. My name is Gabby, and in today's video we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. We're going to be going through the true crime kidnapping case of Barbara MAckle. On the 17th of December 1968, Barbara MAckle, who was a 20-year-old student and mother at the time, was staying at the Roadway Inn in Decatur, Georgia. Barbara was actually ill with flu at the time, so her mother had travelled up from Florida in order to look after her and bring her home for Christmas. Their stay at the motel was interrupted by a knock on the door by what appeared to be a policeman who told Barbara that one of her friends, Stuart Hunt Woodward, had been in a car accident. However, that was all a ploy, and the man at the door, who was later named as Gary Stephen Christ, or Christ, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, was no policeman. After being allowed into the room, he and an accomplice, who was thought to be a teenage boy, but was later revealed to be a woman by the name of Ruth Eisman Shear, chloroformed, bound and gagged Barbara's mother. They then forced Barbara out of the hotel room into a waiting car and informed her that she was being kidnapped. She was then driven to a remote area of pine trees where the two kidnappers had prepared a reinforced fiberglass box roughly the size of a coffin in a shallow trench. The box was kitted out with a battery-powered lamp, food and water which was laced with sedatives, and an air pump which was supplied by two plastic pipes up to the surface. After forcing Barbara into the box, they shoved a sign into her hand which read "Kidnapped," took a photo to include along with their ransom. They then closed the box and began to bury her. As Barbara MAckle later wrote in her book 83 Hours Till Dawn, "I screamed and screamed. The sound of dirt got further and further away. Finally, I couldn't hear anything above. I screamed for a long time after that." Gary and Ruth sent their ransom to Barbara's father, Robert MAckle, who was a wealthy Florida land developer, demanding $500,000, which in today's money would be roughly $3.5 million, for his daughter's safe return. So the first attempt at the ransom drop went completely amiss when it was interrupted by a passing police car, causing the kidnappers to abandon their car and flee on foot. The vehicle was later discovered by the FBI, along with registration information that identified the car's owner as a George Deacon. Detective work, along with fingerprints recovered from the car, as well as a large amount of luck, revealed that George Deacon was actually a false identity which was being used by George Christ. He had escaped from prison in California in 1966 and had been on the run since then. They also identified Ruth Eisman Shear as a known associate of his. Meanwhile, the second ransom drop went according to plan, but there was no word from the kidnappers until the 20th of December, when Gary phoned the FBI and gave vague details to where Barbara was buried to the switchboard operator. Over 100 agents were involved in the search, spreading out over the area and digging in the ground, often with their own bare hands. Finally, Barbara was found, unharmed but quite dehydrated after spending over 3 days underground. As for Barbara's kidnappers, Ruth Eisman Shear was arrested 79 days later in Oklahoma after gaining the title of being the first woman on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list. She was tried, convicted and sentenced to 7 years in prison, serving 4 of those before being paroled and deported to a native Honduras. George Christ was found hiding in a Florida swamp shortly after Barbara was rescued and was sentenced to life in prison in 1969, serving 10 years before he was paroled. He was later pardoned so that he could attend medical school and went on to practice medicine in Indiana, as the state allowed those with criminal records to do so, which is just madness, until 2003 when his license was revoked because he lied about a disciplinary action during his residency. In March of 2006, he was arrested off the coast of Alabama for trying to smuggle 14 kilos of cocaine and 4 illegal immigrants into the country on his sailboat. He was sentenced to 5 years and 5 months in prison and was released in November of 2010. He then went on to violate the terms of his probation by leaving the country without permission and was sentenced to a further 40 months. Like, this guy just doesn't learn his lesson, like, at all. You think he would after the first 2 times. One of George's parole officers, a Tommy Morris, revealed in an interview in 1986 that George had chose Barbara MAckle as his victim because, and I quote, he was looking for a rich, tough-minded female, someone that could stand up to the trauma of being buried alive, and Barbara Jane Mackle fit that description. Thankfully, George wasn't wrong in his assessment of Barbara's psychological durability. She was remarkably unaffected by her ordeal, and later revealed that she never doubted that she would be rescued and spent her time thinking about spending Christmas with her family. Barbara seems to have lived a quiet life since then, marrying Stuart Woodward and apparently settling down in South Florida. Apart from writing her book, which was later adapted into 2 films, she has never spoken publicly about what she went through during those 3.5 days that she was buried alive. That was the case of Barbara MAckle, a woman who went through a horrendous ordeal but came out on the other side completely unscathed. I have a lot of respect for her, and I'm really glad that she seemed to have lived a quiet, peaceful life since then. If you enjoy true crime, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel, as I will be releasing new videos every week. But until then, please be safe, be well, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.